Okay, so this is my case study screencast. My student is M, and she's a 10th grader from the Democratic Republic of Congo, which I'm going to shorten to DRC for the rest of the slides. She's been in the United States for 2 years, and she's been at the same school that time. And until this year, there was no support for language learners at the school. So this has been a really exciting year. And she really, really had to self advocate last year and was a trooper. And as you'll see at the last bullet there, she is doing really well and is not afraid to ask for support and help. So that's been great. She is a resettled refugee, and she came to the United States alone and is living with a foster family. So my questions were based on her school experiences, her literacy experiences, and then some questions about her interests and her culture. I added some of the most memorable quotes. There were some questions that she had a lot to say about, and those were the ones about her previous school experiences. And then she also liked talking about her home culture. So she was in school for a long time. She said that they start school earlier than we do, and that she would have been in 8th grade if you were to compare it to the US, but that in the DRC, that was considered high school. So she left the DRC in high school there. But she also said that there were quite a few times that she would have to leave school because it wasn't safe and you would run away from where you were, and that there would be big breaks sometimes, and that she doesn't really know how long. I asked if maybe she felt like it could have been a month or more, and she just said she doesn't really know, but that made it difficult. She also said that it was pretty strict in school. They would punish you through physical means. So you would be a good student. She just said that she was very disciplined. And then when talking about her culture and her role, she said that she would be at home now if she were still in that culture, the culture that she grew up in. But she did say that there's a lot of different cultures in the DRC, and so that would just be the one that she grew up in. And she did state that for your whole family, whenever you go anywhere, your family knows about it, but that particularly for women, you really only go somewhere when you are going somewhere to support or do something for your family members. And that there's a certain time in the day where you wouldn't leave the house anymore, but where males could, and they could go out for their own purposes. So the writing lesson that we worked on was a persuasive writing piece. We really focused on persuasive techniques, and this was an English literature class for language learners. So we focused on rhetoric, but then we also focused on the language that got us to using rhetoric. So we focused a lot on organization. So what kind of pieces come with a persuasive essay, and adding details. They had quite a bit of time as well as other supports. So we used sentence stems, quite a bit of group work and partner work. They always talked out their writing before they committed to paper. We had conferences with me, and then I had written a sample paper that had the same highlighting of the the opinion statement, the topic sentence with the reasons, the counterclaim, and the conclusion, the restatement of the opinion. And then this is her paper. And we talked quite a bit about adding those details and making sure that we were citing, giving examples whenever possible. For the reading lesson, we really focused on IR reading, so that independent reading. She chose a book called Thurah's Diary, and it's about a girl in Iraq. It's a true story about a girl in Iraq who kept a diary. And as the war goes on, she can't go to school. And all of this is documented in her IR reading logs. So we had talked about nonfiction features, and because we were in a nonfiction unit, all of the books that the students got to choose from were either biographies, autobiographies, or memoirs. And she chose this one particularly because she felt she could relate to it. And as we conferenced and talking with her, she really could make those connections and really understood the character and the character's point of view. And she also learned quite a few things about Iraq. So she really liked it. This was a really awesome addition to our reading time. And it helped me understand that not only were they comprehending the reading from the books they chose, but that they also were understanding timelines, and they were able to pick out the most important details. And the hope was that they would pick out impactful language with some of their favorite quotes. And this kind of turned into another lesson about what a quote means when you're pulling it from a different text. And we only conferenced once. And during this time, we did talk about, you can kind of see here where I say page, and I want to know which page they're on. And then I say week goal, and I want to know, I told them at least 20 because I gave them 15 minutes every day to read. So at least 20 pages and for a week. So we talked about that, but it seems that maybe that was forgotten for the next time. And so I wish that maybe I'd either collected these weekly or just checked them more often. So this was turned in at the end. But we can always go back and at least add one favorite quote, something of that nature. Okay, so this student has really grown so much from the first time that she walked into Allegan Schools, and she tested for the WIDA last March, at a 1.9 for listening, a 2.5 for speaking, a 2.2 for reading, and a 3.1 for writing, with a composite score of 2.5. So this student is a wonderful listener. Very seldom do I need to, explain something again or in different words. She also has really good social skills. She's funny, and she is very aware of, jokes and sarcasm. So, and she's in Glee choir. She's just doing really, really, really blossoming socially. And so that's really good to see. But for example, in her interview, there was quite a bit of negotiating for meaning or avoidance. She might just be like, you know what I mean, or this thing, and then show me. And so we're still working on just learning that vocabulary and honestly really taking formal interactions more seriously, because up to this point, for the most part, she's not being asked to do those things. So really trying to teach the difference and give her those language skills for that. But what we work on most and what I see the most room for improvement in is the writing skills and making sure that we are able to add details and add important information without being repetitive and having it make an impact and being able to turn our speech into writing. So I learned that she has a rich background in school. She had so much to say about those questions, and you could just tell that she really enjoyed her time in school in the DRC. I also learned that she is still looking for family members in the DRC. She found her mother, and that was just last year. And she's having difficulty getting her to the United States. And I know that she is still looking for her sister. And that was just really good information to know. Sometimes she'll need to leave class because her mom's calling her. I always let her do that. Because I know that she has a lot on her mind, and I know that her mom isn't with her, and there's a time difference, and so I feel like that is best for her mentally. That is best for the classroom and really everybody involved. And yeah, I picked the student because sometimes she's hard to reach, and when she is having a moody day, it's hard to build rapport when you don't know what's going on. And so it's good information to have. So you can just feel for her. So she will not be able to graduate next year. She told me that our school has an age limit, or it's some law, something that I'm not aware of at this time, but that she is talking to her counselor and they're contacting a school in Grand Rapids so that she will be able to continue high school. But I think it's a place where it's more EL based. So it's really a school that's for EL students who are older who have come here when they are older. And so I'm glad that she's being proactive about that. She's also really interested in history, and she feels like we don't have a great grasp on perspectives. And a direct quote from her was that we need to be apologizing. And I thought her take on history was very interesting, and that she was so interested in it because of the way that we learn it and because of our perspective. So she also really likes reading, and she's been able to find books that she's interested in and relates to. And that was one of my goals at the beginning of the year, was just to really broaden our library and make it more diverse and relatable for those students. So I'm glad that she's been able to do that and been able to find books that, are beach reads for her. So some questions I still have. I'm wondering what her reading scores are outside of my classroom. So outside of WIDA from last March, we still don't have the WIDA scores for this March, and we don't have the PSAT scores yet. But in general, I wonder, in her science class or her history class, are those texts being accommodated? And B, even if they are, how is her reading going? Is she comprehending it really well? Can she do it independently? For this student, I don't push into her other classes, and it's more of a schedule conflict than anything else. So that's something that I would like to have more information about, and what her supports are like. So whether or not anything is being accommodated. And then I also want to know what she would like to learn most about in English. So we don't really focus on spelling. We do focus on some grammar. We focus on what you might call survival language, formal language, definitely. But ultimately, it is an ELL, ELA class. So we have to meet those standards.